Hello, I am choosing to do my final psychology video on Wilhem Wundt, often referred to as the father of psychology. He was born August 16th, 1832. There's a whole lot about his childhood missing in the research that I did, but a lot of the information starts where he earned his first medical degree at the University of Heidelberg in 1856. He was appointed lecturer in physiology at the same university in 1858. In 1862, William Wundt offered his first course ever taught in scientific psychology, which was a pretty huge deal because those two words didn't really go together back then. In 1875, William Wundt taught at the University of Leipzig. I don't know how to pronounce that very well. I apologize. And he taught there from 1875 till 1917, actually. That is where he established his first laboratory. It was the first laboratory whose sole purpose was, how do you say it? Its sole purpose was to study the mind and behavior. So yeah, he established his first laboratory at that Leipzig University, and the purpose was solely to study the mind and its behavior. He did a lot of things. He aimed to separate psychology from philosophy and medicine. He believed that they were completely different things. I think he had worded it at one point. What did he say? Oh my goodness, I can't believe I didn't write that one down. Anyways, he conducted his experiments in a way that was very, very controlled. His methods were very systematic, and he had stated that it was a way to ensure that he could repeat the same experiments and get dependable results. He wanted it to be in the same room with the same light, the same brightness, the same, having the light on for the same amount of time. Like all of the things had to be exactly the same to ensure that he could repeat the experiment. He examined human consciousness, perception, and feelings related to behavior. They use the word, it was often said that over and over again, actually, in the research that I did, that he used the introspection technique. I didn't understand what that was at first, but it's a conscious examination of a conscious experiment or experience. Sorry. Yeah. A conscious, I can't say that word. I'm sorry. A conscious examination of a conscious experience. Yeah. Self-observation of your own thoughts, which have a lot to do with how he conducted most of his research. He would play music or use a light or show students pictures. Everything was done in real time and it was never a reflection of something that had already happened. All of his experiments were in real time, not based in the past. So he would present a stimulus. Students would take a moment to assess their own thoughts and feelings on whatever the stimulus was. And then they would relay those thoughts and feelings to Wundt, and he basically ran the same experiment over and over and over again with all of these different students and participants, and then he used them to contrast and compare to come to a conclusion, is how he did that. Wundt was trying to move the study of the mind away from, in his words, the speculation of philosophers, and move it to the scientific methods of psychology. Sometimes he would also do experiments on people's real-time reactions to a stimulus. Before Wundt, the study of the mind was considered philosophy and studied largely by a man named Rene Descartes, I think is how you pronounce that. Wundt's method of introspection did come along with limitations, asking participants to report about what is going on in their minds and how they feel about something in the moment. A lot of people thought it was highly subjective and that there was no real way to verify that any of that was true, other than him trusting his students, I guess. Another man by the name of B.F. Skinner, who I started to do a little bit of research on, but didn't have the time to get deeper into it. He argued that Wundt's introspection wasn't truly scientific because he wasn't studying observable behavior. Everything was basically in the mind, and it was up to the student to relay what was in their mind. So it wasn't something that one could actually see. So B.F. Skinner was skeptical of the conclusions that Wundt came to. Basically, he says, if you can't observe the behavior, can you really be objective? Wundt, however, did create a starting point for the future of psychology, and this is why he's known as the father of psychology, I guess. Wundt trained 186 graduate students, and 116 of those specialized in psychology, which was huge. That's a high percentage, and I think it speaks to, the faith that a lot of them had in him. There was a quote that I read by a lady named Catherine Collins, and it states, the foundations were laid for the next generation of psychology at the turn of the century to develop a truly objective study of the mind and behavior, to apply their own new theories to the treatment of mental disorders, which I think sums up a lot of what Wundt laid the foundation for, which I think is pretty amazing. And there was a timeline that I came across that gave some bullet points that I thought was really, really cool. And it was basically in 1897, William Wundt and the method of introspection was created. In 1913, it was more B.F. Skinner and the behavioral approach. In the 1960s, with computers even being new, but they were a thing. They studied a lot on the cognitive approach in the 1980s. It was the biological approach. And then today, the cognitive neuroscience um, is pretty amazing to watch some of those things. But I really thought a little bit about what William Wundt would think if he could see this now. Like, granted, he started in 1897, but it's really not that long later, and the amount of technology and new philosophies that people have come up with are pretty amazing. But it was really interesting for me to do the research on him, so I appreciate this opportunity. Thank you.